I'm going to explain to you AG-Grid and AG-Charts licensing. We have two libraries, AG-Grid and AG-Charts. Both AG-Grid and AG-Charts are independent standalone libraries. You can pick and choose if you want one of them or both of them in your application. There are two versions of AG-Grid and AG-Charts, the community versions and the enterprise versions. The community versions are open source and don't require purchasing a license. You can use the community versions in your applications for free. The enterprise versions of AG-Grid and AG-Charts come with more features and dedicated support. If you want to use either of these enterprise libraries, then you do need a license from us. The rest of this video explains your enterprise licensing. At the end of this video, you'll know what license you need to use either AG-Grid Enterprise or AG-Charts Enterprise in your application. The first thing you will need to decide is what libraries you want to use. If your application only needs charts, then get AG-Charts Enterprise, or if you only want AG-Grid Enterprise, then just get that. However, if you have the requirement for both, then getting the enterprise bundle of both grid and charts gives your application the ultimate grids and charts experience. Keep in mind that using AG-Grid Enterprise by itself, bundled with AG-Charts Enterprise, gives your users an enterprise integrated charting experience. This out-of-the-box feature of AG-Grid allows your users to create charts without you writing any charting code. It comes out of the box with AG-Grid when bundled with AG-Charts. Once you have decided which libraries you want licensed, then you need to select between single application, or single app for short, multiple application, or multi-app for short, and deployment license. Single app licenses a group of developers for one application and is priced per front-end JavaScript developer. Multi-app licenses a group of developers for unlimited applications and is also priced per front-end JavaScript developer. A deployment license licenses a production instance. You will need a deployment license if the users of the application you are building are outside of your organization. So in summary, you will need either a single application or multi-application license, then a deployment license if the application is to be used outside of your organization. Let's look at these parts of the license more closely. Let's consider one application with 4 front-end JavaScript developers and the application is to be used within the organization. We would need a single app license for 4 developers. An example of this would be a project in a bank with 4 developers working on an application that would be used internally within the bank by the bank's employees, for example to assist with its finance or trading operations. As the application is not accessed externally from the organization, the single app license for 4 developers is all that's needed. Now let's consider the next example. We have again 4 front-end developers, however the application is going to be used outside of the organization. We would need a single app license for 4 developers and an additional deployment license to cover each deployment. An example of this would be a project in a bank with 4 developers and the application would be used outside of the bank. The users of the application in this instance could be the employees of another bank or business, or maybe it's individuals at home who are using a service the bank provides, such as an online trading platform or simply accessing their personal online banking. Each individual production environment requires one deployment license. If software as a service or SaaS is provided, then there is one deployment instance, and that's one deployment license. For example, if the bank is providing a trading portal accessed by multiple clients and all clients are accessing just one production instance, then that's one deployment license. If the software has multiple production instances, such as installed on premises for customers or in the cloud for a customer, then each production instance requires a deployment license. In this example, we have multiple customers accessing one shared SaaS instance, and then 2 customers accessing private instances. That is 3 deployment instances in total. So in this example, we would need a license for 4 single application developers and 3 deployments. Let's chat about developers moving on and off projects. When you license an application for X number of developers, it doesn't matter if those developers are moving onto and off a project, as long as the total number of developers on the project at any one time does not exceed the number of licensed developers. In this example, the application is licensed for 4 developers, so developers can come and go as long as the total number of developers doesn't exceed 4. You might be wondering, do you need to cover all JavaScript developers on a project? Well, you must cover all front-end JavaScript developers. If you have developers who are not touching the front end, for example back-end developers or developers writing test scripts, they do not need to be licensed if they are not touching the front-end JavaScript code. So far we've considered building just one application, but what if you have more than one application? If you have many applications and want to license them all individually with single app licenses, that's totally fine. However, you also have the option to use multi-app licenses. Let's consider the example of having 3 applications, each requiring a license, and each having 4 front-end developers. As I said, it's fine to get 3 single app licenses for this. However, you may consider a multi-app license. For a multi-app license, you don't license the applications individually. Rather, you license the group of developers. Then the group of developers can work on an unlimited number of applications. In this example, we have pooled all our developers into one group. In total, we have 8 developers, so we need a multi-app license for 8 developers. This becomes considerably cheaper if developers are working across projects. It also makes licensing considerably easier to manage. Many large customers of AG Grid and AG Charts will use multi-app licenses to license groups of developers. These multi-app licenses would typically be corporate-wide to license all developers in your company, or they could be departmental-wide to license all developers within a particular department. We have now gone through single app, multi-app, and deployment license. You'll need at least single app or multi-app, and then consider deployment license if your users of your application are outside of your organization. Let's now talk about renewals. The license is perpetual and includes 1 year of support and updates. That means you will have access to our dedicated support and be licensed to use all releases of AG Grid or AG Charts Enterprise for 1 year after you purchase. At the end of this year, you do not need to renew your license. You are entitled to use the latest version of AG Grid or AG Charts Enterprise you received forever. Just keep in mind that you won't have access to support and you won't be entitled to new versions. If you do decide to renew, then we offer this considerably cheaper than the original purchase price. This will allow you to stay up to date with all the latest features and support. What counts as one deployment? Well, a deployment counts as one production instance. We do not require separate licensing for developer instances or test instances or even disaster recovery environments. It's only live production environments that you need to get a license for. If you have a cluster in production and the instances in that cluster are only there for load balancing or failover, then that entire cluster is counted as just one production environment. So again, an entire cluster is counted as one environment if the purpose of that cluster is for load balancing or failover. Then you might be wondering about physical servers or virtual servers. Well, we don't actually care if you're deploying to a physical service or virtual service or to containers or whatever, so long as what you're deploying to collectively serves the purpose of one production instance. I want to finish up talking about wrapping AG Grid. All JavaScript developers on a project need to be covered by the license. It is not permissible to have just one developer work with AG Grid and only license that one developer. You'll need to license all JavaScript developers on the project, not just the ones working directly with AG Grid. Similarly, if you have a frameworks team and you are providing AG Grid or AG Charts as part of an internal framework or library, and that framework or library is consumed by other projects, then all JavaScript developers on all those other projects also need to be licensed. And lastly, if you're providing AG Grid as part of a framework or library and making it available outside of your organization, then that's not covered by our standard license. You'll need to get in touch so we can come up with a different license to cover what it is that you are trying to do. And that's it, we're done. We've explained the licensing. If you have any questions, get in touch, info@ag-grid.com.